Well, before you put in the hate comments and you say I'm a nerd and you say, whoa, VJ, why do you sound so ill? Yes, I'm ill. Yes, I'm a nerd. But no, I'm not a hater. I love Stranger Things. Ever since it's come out, I had this nostalgia feeling, like Goonies, The Thing, even some aspects of like Indiana Jones. When season 5, volume 2 dropped, I was ecstatic. I was hyped. Like many of you, you wanted to see something happen. But for a lot of us, nothing did happen. And why did it miss the mark? So in this video, I wanted to explain some of the reasons why season 5, volume 2 missed the mark. Oh no, it must be Vecna again. Oh no. So first, let's make a diagram. This is going to help me structure volume 2, and it's also going to help you see what went wrong with volume 2 as well. Now I want to explain the icons for you first. So first, we have the timeline going straight to the end. That's pretty self-explanatory. Second, we've got the tension pace. So the tension and pace goes up and down like a heartbeat. And this is just to represent kind of the pacing and storyline along with it. So when big beats happen, for example, Vecna's killing somebody or Max is getting out, it'll spike. But when there's like a long, calm, nothing's happening, the line will go flat. So that's kind of the tension builder. And then the story. So this jumps backwards and forwards a lot in these episodes, and the blue line is to represent where they go backwards and forwards. So for example, we've got Hopper's argument with Elle, and then we're jumping back into Steve and Dustin's point of view, and then we're going backwards as well into other things. So that's kind of explaining that. So first thing I want to talk about is pacing. I'm going to use episode 5 for this. And this diagram is really simple, and it gets more complex as episodes go by. But with this particular episode, I want to talk about pacing. Max and Vecna in the beginning, going into Elle and Hopper's argument, back into Will's, back into Dustin and Steve. Then we're going into everybody, backstory, and everything like that. So the emotional beats here are all over the place. First 40 minutes, we're bouncing backwards and forwards between our characters. Sometimes it's in the past, sometimes in the future, and sometimes it's in between. Another issue with this as well, with the pacing aspect, is when Dustin says everyone's gonna die, he's made a big mistake, constantly going up and down with no payoff. I think the first episode gets away with it because you're like, oh, it's the first episode. But then by the end of the whole series, you kind of get fatigued with it, and then that's when people feel like, is that all that happened? We come to episode 6, which is the worst episode in my view. Let me explain. Okay, next is the script. In all 3 of these, but particularly in number 6, it is so busy and there's no space to breathe. So we get the wormhole reveal, the chase with Holly, Robin's plans, Steve and Dustin's moment, the breakup with Nancy and Jonathan, then Max's return. There's like so much packed in here that we don't have any space to breathe. It doesn't give us enough time to actually rationalize what's going on. Even when they have their arcs, it's not enough time to digest. So for example, Steve's and Dustin's reunion, when they have a bit of a heartfelt moment, is one of the best bits in the episode, I think. It only gets 60 seconds. Whereas Nancy and Jonathan's breakup, which was really confusing, has 8 minutes of dialogue. So it's really confusing for me as a fan to see where the script is going, how much effort they're putting into each character, where we clearly want Steve and Dustin to have their moment, which they do kind of, but it's almost like it's not enough. And I think because they're cramming too many things in, they have to make sacrifices and decisions based on the script and productions and money. I think ultimately, these 3 episodes, and the last episode as well, feel like there's too much happening and there's not enough happening in certain places. They're spending a lot of time with different characters and things that don't really matter in the universe, rather than showing and producing the story that we all want. What happens is you get overwhelming sense of what the hell is happening, and nothing lands, and before you can realize anything that's going on, the episode ends. The Max's escape, I didn't really understand either. I think what happened was, I'm still trying to piece together things that were happening from Nancy's point of view, from Jonathan, from Steve's, Dustin. By the time it got to Max's part, in my head, I was still thinking about those things. So I was like, run, get out, but she was having a moment with Holly. So it gets very confusing, and I think our brains, when the script isn't clear on what it's set out to do, our brains start making things up. That's why you get a lot of mysteries and fan theories and really no clear direction on where the episode is going. So that's why I think Max's part really feels like, oh my god, this is really long-winded here. And that leads me on to final point, which is the editing. Finally, it's the editing. With so many storylines going on, it's hard to keep up with which character and where they are. So for example, when Will gets his eyes gouged out by Vecna, 40 minutes later, then we come back to that point. In the middle, we've got so much filler and so much backstory. It becomes confusing. We need to remind us constantly of what happened and when. This just creates like a sense of confusion for the characters and also the audience as well, like what's going on and where. If they do that too much and they don't catch you up on it, you're lost. I think that's why a lot of people have the complaint where so much happened, but they don't really understand why or kind of where it's happened. I feel like I focused on fewer characters, fewer storylines would have been better. But ultimately, this isn't my story. This is the Duffer Brothers story and Stranger Things story as a whole. We've been waiting for 10 years for the finale, and through 10 years it's been great. I know that this opinion won't matter in the long run. They're going to make millions and millions anyway. But this is just my 2 cents, and I hope you liked the video. I put a lot of effort into this one, I really enjoyed it. But if you do want to see more, let me know. And I would love to hear some of your comments on Stranger Things as well. Did you like it? Did you enjoy it? Would you feel like it's a little bit better? What are some of the points that you feel like I missed out on? I'd love to know. But yeah, other than that, thank you for watching. Subscribe for more, and I'll see you soon.